Okay. All right. Hi everyone, I am TeamRuler15, aka Mr. Say, and today we are going to talk about the differences between the past simple and the present perfect. So, let us begin. Let us begin. First of all, let's talk about what the past simple is. So, what is the past simple? The simplest form of the past tense. Indeed. Right? The past simple is the simple past, right? Yeah, exactly. We use it to describe an event that started and ended in the past, or to be more precise, let's word it slightly different word, a slightly different way. We use the past simple to talk about events that took place in the past, and that have no connection to the present. And I see Magical has left me a few comments on my YouTube videos, one of my most recent YouTube videos, which I am happy about. That's freut mich sehr. That makes me happy. Anyway, oh shoot, I hit the mic. Oh, my bad. I really should put this mic up a little. Hold up. Let me just. Okay. Okay, that's better. Now the mic is out of my way. Okay, right. So as someone else said, the past simple is used to describe an event that took place entirely within the past. So, for example, I went to sleep at 10 p.m. last night. And Discord is being really slow on my end. What is wrong with that? I think the number of people listening, I think something's glitched there. Is that counter glitched? What's going on? What on earth is going on? That's just so weird. Might be bots. I don't know. Or are there actually that many people? Huh. That's never happened. Perhaps I should... Here, hold on. Okay, yeah. Well, let's just keep going then. Yeah, we should. So, going back to, I think someone else... Yeah, exactly. The past, as Magical said, the past simple's usage would be to describe an event that started in the past and has no connection to the present. Yeah, see, that's the distinction I was trying to make between what I said and what Abbage said. Let me just disable DMs right now because I don't like having them on when I'm teaching class. Let's see. Because I don't like it when people do that. Okay, there. So if you want to DM me, you're just gonna have to wait after class. Wait until after class. Okay. But anyway, yeah. So that's the distinction I wanted to make between what Average said and what Magical said, because because an event that happened that's used with the past simple, an event that uses the past simple, that it doesn't necessarily mean that that action ended in the past. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So for example, the sentence I used earlier, I went to sleep at 10 p.m. last night. Let me bring it back. Okay, so I went to sleep at 10 p.m. last night. Let's contrast this with I was 10 years old at the time. I've never had that many people attend my class. Just wow. If these are actual people, holy crap. This is a new record. Okay. So, the reason why I say that an event in the past simple doesn't necessarily mean that it ended is, well, you'll see when I explain this example to you. So I went to sleep at 10 p.m. last night versus I was 10 years old at the time. Both are in the past simple, but the second event didn't exactly end at some point in the past, did it? It took place in the past, but didn't exactly end at that point. So what does this tell us? It tells us that the past simple... Why do I have caps on? The past simple can be completed or perfective or incomplete or imperfective. So that's the distinction here that you need to make. So just because it's the past simple doesn't necessarily mean that it was complete, that event was completed. So the first sentence here would be perfective or completed. The second one was imperfective or incomplete. So just keep that in mind. But basically the past simple is used for events that concern only the past and that have no connection to the present. So going back to these two examples, the second is imperfective because, well, you didn't stop being 10 years old, did you? But the first one, well, that was complete. You went to sleep and, that action's done. But anyway. But in English, we really make this distinction based on context or with special forms like the past progressive and stuff like that. Whereas in languages like Spanish, you actually have two separate forms. So like went to sleep, I went to sleep in Spanish would be like fui a dormir, but like I was 10 years old, that would be like tenía 10 años. So you can see that there are two separate past tense forms in Spanish for the perfective and the imperfective. Whereas in English, we don't have that distinction. We just rely on context to make the distinction. But basically, the past simple doesn't always mean complete. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now let's talk about the present perfect. Yeah, I was watching the movie When You Came would be a past progressive example in English. Yeah, an example of the past progressive. And I'll talk about the progressive forms later in the lesson. So now let's talk about the present perfect. So what exactly is the present perfect? So the present perfect. No, I said the past simple doesn't necessarily mean that it was completed in the past, and by it I mean the event. It happened in the past, of course. It just wasn't necessarily completed, if that makes sense. So basically, just because you have a past tense verb doesn't necessarily mean that the event was finished. It could have been unfinished. So to provide more examples, like let's say you have oops. Let me see. So this sentence, she was beautiful when she was young. These two would not be considered complete. She didn't stop being beautiful and she didn't stop being young. At some point in the past, like if you have one instance in the past, and well, these would be events in progress, hence why they're not completed. So that's why you should be careful with how you interpret the past simple. But in other instances, she finished her exam. She finished her final exams, I'm sorry, at such a young age. Now this is also the past simple, but here we have a completed action here. A completed action. I was afraid of dogs when I was a child. Yeah, exactly. Both of those verbs was, those would not be completed. But she finished her final exams at such a young age. That was completed. Okay. But yeah, basically, but before we continue to the present perfect, actually instead I want you guys to provide examples. Examples where you use the past simple. Yeah, you could say when she was younger, that's fine too. Although you would probably need a bit more context for that to make sense, because, you know, since you're saying that she was younger, when she was, you'd have to add more context to that, because younger implies that you're comparing something to something else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's as ideally just said. You were nicer when you were younger. That works too. Okay, let's look at what Magical said here. I believe some people may have this question right now. What if we want to say that she is no longer beautiful, but was beautiful when she was young? In this case, we use something named as used to. She used to be beautiful. Yes, that's actually a good point. And that would also be imperfective, because it's habitual. Like, we don't see it as a completed event. Like a single whole, I should say. It was just habitual. So like, she used to be beautiful. So used to can also carry that meaning. But be careful though, because sometimes you cannot use used to and was would simply work. So you can say she used to be beautiful, but it would be weird if you said something along the lines of when she used to be 10. No, you would simply say when she was 10. So be careful with how you use used to. No, it's not completed. She was prettier when she was younger. No, both of those would be incomplete. And for those of you who know Spanish, let's compare the English version with the Spanish version. Going back to my sentence earlier. She was beautiful. Darn it, hold on. She was beautiful when she was young. Now let's translate this to Spanish. Oh my god, this Discord, stop it. Okay. Yeah, see, it's exactly as Magical just said. Like, she still is pretty, but in that time she was prettier. Exactly. Because remember, like, you can think of it as backshifting. You know how in verbs with verbs in the present you can backshift them to the past? That's pretty much what this is right here. Backshifting. So where you make a present tense verb a past tense verb because, you know, the other verbs are in the past tense. You don't always have to backshift, but in this case you should. Okay, let's compare these two. So in English, she was beautiful when she was young. In Spanish, ella era guapa cuando era joven. So you see now that in Spanish we use the imperfective form era and not the perfective form fue to describe that at the time she was beautiful. So she didn't exactly stop being beautiful. It's just that at that time she was beautiful. Now, you know, she could stop being beautiful right now. Like, she might not be beautiful now, but at the time she was beautiful. So we're talking about something that was in progress, if that makes sense. No, fue would not work here. No, you'd have to use era. Fue would not make any sense here. Yeah, it's the past simple here. I'm just comparing it with Spanish to show you that, yeah, it's the past simple, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was complete. Because remember, so in Spanish, right, there are two past simples, right? Era, oh, I messed that up. That's not right. Era would be the imperfect. Fue would be the preterite. And they both are the past simple forms of the verb to be, which would be, in this case, it would be sad. So in Spanish, you would not use the preterite form there because you want to express that at the time she was beautiful. Her beautifulness, her beauty was ongoing. So it's not complete, if that makes sense. It wasn't complete at that time. But in English, we have just one form, so you just have to tell from the context whether or not it's completed. Okay, so whether or not something in the past simple is complete depends on the context. So let me actually type that out. Whether or not a verb in the past simple is a complete event depends on the context. But basically, that's the past simple. An action that took, or not necessarily an action, but an event that took place, an event, state of being, action, whatever, that took place in the past. It might not necessarily have been finished, but it took place in the past and has no connection to the present. Okay, now let's go to the past simple. I'm sorry, present perfect. What's the present perfect? Does anyone know what the present perfect is? No, is would be the present simple. What's the present perfect? No progressive forms. Just the present perfect itself. Yeah, exactly. Have or has, and then the participle, the past participle. So yeah, that's how you form it. And yeah, it's an action that started in the past, and okay, so it can continue in the present, but let's change that a bit. Let's change that wording a bit. So the present perfect talks about, it's used for an event that started in the past but has some sort of relevance or connection to the present. So it does not necessarily have to continue into the present. It can, but it doesn't necessarily have to. So yeah, exactly, it has some consequence in the present. So what would an example be? I've watched online classes on Discord. He has lost his money. Yes, although money should be spelled with Money, but that's okay. I've just sat down. That works. That works. That's perfect. I have lost my keys. I haven't slept in 24 hours. Oh dear. I have heard many things about you. I've worried about it today. I mean, that can work, but I think a more natural way of saying it would be I've been worried about it today. Have you ever been to Spain? Ooh, that's a good one. I have forgotten to lock my car. Yes, of course. I've been there. I've been in school. I have been there. She hasn't been well lately. Yes. I've been there a few times. He has gone. It really should be he has gone to class, but that's fine. Have you seen the movie? I have bought a donut in the shop. Okay. So you guys get the point. Okay, so that would be the present perfect, and you guys get how to form it. So remember, you use has. Has or had. I'm sorry, have. Has or have plus the past participle of a verb. Oops. So here's the present perfect formula. You put the verb has or have, the auxiliary verb has or have. You put, depending on what, like the person, like whether you're not, you like the, like first person, second person, third person, singular, whatever. It depends on the subject. So use either has or have, and then use the past participle of a verb. So I have done this, she has done that, they have done this, so on and so forth. I've done my homework already. I mean, yeah, that works too. Can you explain this example? I mean, that one, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what I should explain about it. Because, like, it's an action that was finished and that it is related to the present. So it implied that he finished it, like, right at this moment. Or at least very recently. You could also use the adverb recently with the past simple. The present perfect just implies that this event, an event that started in the past, has some sort of relevance or connection to the present. Like, it just makes the action seem closer to the present, if that makes sense. Whereas the past simple makes the action seem more distant, if that makes sense. So when you say, I did my homework already, that doesn't mean that, like, that just makes the action sound more distant from the present. But if you say, I've done my homework already, then that implies that you've done it, like, very recently. If that makes sense. So here, let me actually type these out. I did my homework already. I've done my homework already. So this one is the past simple, and this one is the present perfect. I did my homework already. I've done my homework already. So the first one makes the action sound a little less connected to the present. Yeah, exactly. If the impact of the event is still present, then yes, you'd use the present perfect. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Or it could be something that's still taking place too. That works too. And I can make a diagram that shows you guys exactly what the difference is. I'll do that in a moment, but first I need to address a few comments here. Let's see. Okay, Magical actually posted something really good here. Whether or not a verb in the past simple is a completed event depends on the context. Example, imperfective. Speaker A, what was your main activity when you were 10? Speaker B, I was a servant. Yeah, that would be imperfective. Now, perfective. Speaker A, were you always an engineer? Speaker B, actually, no. I was a servant for 2 years. Yeah, see? In that case, I was a servant for 2 years, that would be perfective. You can even have both in the same sentence. So, like, you could have one verb be perfective and the other be imperfective. So, for example, I went to Spain when I was 15 years old. The first verb is perfective, and the second verb is imperfective. I went to Spain when I was 15 years old. And to put this, and to translate this to Spanish so you Spanish speakers can see the difference, fui a España cuando tenía 15 años. And let me boldface that. So again, here it's the same thing in Spanish. The first verb is perfective, fui. The second verb, tenía, is imperfective. So it would not make sense. I mean, I guess you could use the imperfective for the first one, but you'd have to, like, that would change the meaning. Whereas with the second one, no, you can't use the perfective at all. So the first one here is perfective, the second is imperfective. So you can mix up the aspects here. But going back to the present perfect, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Let me look at my outline. Okay, so again, you use the present perfect when you want to talk about an event that started in the past but has some connection to the present. It doesn't necessarily have to. It doesn't necessarily have to like be continuing. It just has to have a connection to the present. Now, how do you differentiate the present perfect and the past simple? Okay, well, to do that, oh, actually, wait, hold on. Sorry, there's another one. Another question here that someone asked me. What about have had? Have had is just the present perfect of the verb to have. I have had this, you have had that, she has had, it's so on and so forth. It's really just that had is just the past participle there. Okay, what else? Is the following sentence correct? I've gone to Spain this week. That can work, yeah. Okay. Can you give an example of the present perfect in which the action is still continuing? Okay, sure. I've seen that movie several times. I've seen that movie several times. Wait, oh my god. There. I've seen that movie several times. So this I've seen, this implies that the number of time that you like up until now, like starting at one point in the past and up until now, you've watched this movie several times. Now, yeah, exactly. The action has ended, but its impacts are still present. Exactly. Now, if you use the past simple there instead, I saw that movie several times. Well, that has no connection to the present. You're talking about isolated events in the past, and they have no bearing on the present. So in a sense, using the past simple there will make the action of seeing the movie sound more distant from the present. But you use the present perfect if you want to talk about how all the times you saw the movie are still important to this day. Kind of like how, like you could say, I've watched that movie so many times, and I still plan on watching more of it. Actually, no. In that case, you could technically use the past simple too. Never mind. Forget that example. But anyway. But basically, you could think of the present perfect, where the action starts in the past and leads up into the present, or has relevance in the present. Can we just say that we use the present perfect only for actions and events that happen during the day? I mean, it couldn't represent something that happened 3 days ago or yesterday. Okay, so that's something I'm about to explain. Because I have an outline here and I don't really want to deviate from it. So this goes into the difference between the past simple and the present perfect. Let's talk about the differences. When you have a specific time marker, or like say last week, or at 10 p.m. or something like that in the past, do not use the present perfect. Do not use it. Do not use the present perfect with explicit time markers in the past. Do not. Oh, I'm missing a verb here. Oops. Do not use the present perfect with explicit time markers in the past. So you can't say something like, I've gone to the grocery store yesterday. This is not grammatical. Do not do that. It should be, I went to the grocery store yesterday. Oops. I've gone to the grocery store yesterday. No, you went to the grocery store yesterday. And similarly, I've seen that TV show at 5 p.m. No, you saw that TV show at 5 p.m. So if there's an explicit time marker like yesterday or at 5 p.m. or whatever, do not use the present perfect. It will sound absolutely awful. Don't do it. But without that, but if you take that marker out, then yes, you can use the present perfect. So as someone just asked here, what if I said I have gone to the grocery store? That's fine. But you can't say I have gone to the grocery store yesterday. No, you went to the grocery store yesterday. And yeah, as Nevermore here posted to someone else's comment that said, I have been in Canada in the last week. I've been in Canada last week. No, it should be I went to Canada last week. Okay. So so Carlos 95 has an example here. I've worked there for 8 years. Okay, so the difference between I've worked there for 8 years and I worked there for 8 years is that 8 years is connected to the present. Like, it leads right up into the present. Whereas I worked there for 8 years doesn't imply that. So, like, I want you all to imagine, like, this rectangle. Like, imagine that there's this timeline, and you have 2 marks. One mark, it's sometime in the past, it doesn't matter exactly where. 1 mark in the past, and then 1 mark that signifies the present. And you have this long rectangle. Imagine that rectangle, it starts in the past, but one end will start in the past, but the other end is just not touching that present point that you marked. Whereas with the present perfect, that rectangle is actually touching that mark in the present. So basically, when you use the past simple like that for like time spans such as I worked there for 8 years, that has no connection to the present. And let me show you a diagram to make this easier for you guys to understand. Time to bring up Microsoft Paint. Is it okay to say that we shouldn't specify the time of the event in the present perfect? Yes, see? You get it. Unless it's like a span. Unless it's a span of time. Like, I've worked there for 8 years, then that's fine. But if it's like at some specific point of time in the past, then no, don't use the present perfect. You can't say, I've woken up in the morning. No, I woke up in the morning. And regarding I have worked there and I have been working there, we're going to talk about the continuous forms in a moment. So just hold on, because I wasn't planning on moving through these topics this quickly. But let me open up Microsoft Paint and draw this diagram. And this needs to... Okay, perfect. So, I know the lines are not going to be completely straight. I just don't care at this point. Okay. Let me draw two separate timelines, actually. Because I feel like it's easier for me to just illustrate these rather than explain them, I mean. So, let me do that. Okay, okay, so do this here, do this here. Oh, god damn it, hold on. Screw it, I don't care if it's straight anymore. Okay, put that there, put that there. Okay. Now we make the rectangle. No, it needs to be filled in. There, okay. Oh my god, okay. Okay. There's that one. And then okay, I guess that's good enough. Now we just need to add text. And while I'm doing this, Magical can just answer any questions you guys have. Okay, let's see. Because sometimes it's easier to just illustrate these, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay. So that's this. Okay, and now let's put in more text. Now, no, whoops. That should be the past. Wait. And then the present. Okay. And then present. Yeah, this diagram should make the concept a lot clearer. Okay, now let me just save it. I just wanted to make sure I was still recording. I would have been really sad if I hadn't been recording. Okay, okay, perfect. Like me. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. That looks a little neater. Okay. Now I shall post this. Drawing intensifies. Hurry up, computer, you are so slow. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Where did I save it? Oh, here. Oh, dang it. There we go. Can I? Oh, I can. Okay, cool. Okay. Let's see if this makes more sense. Ooh, my lines look like crap. But anyway, hopefully this makes more sense. Like, my OCD is like, I'm like, I made one of those lines a little too long. My OCD is like triggered. Like, I'm triggered by my OCD. So in the first picture, I worked there for 8 years. There's a span of time, 8 years, but that span of time is not connected to the present. Whereas I've worked there for 8 years, well, that shows a connection to the present. So, like, the past simple implies that there's like some sort of gap between the event in question and the present. Or that the past events and the present time are not related. Ooh, magical even has his own. Okay. The simple past, present perfect. I like that one. No, you said I woken up in the morning around 8 a.m. No, it should be I woke up in the morning around 8 a.m. as someone else pointed out. Okay. The second one here, I'm working there for 8 years. No, that's not correct. But you can say I've been working there for 8 years. That works. Or I'm working there right now. That works too, but not I'm working there for 8 years. That does not make any sense. You have woken up the dragon. The dragon. The dragon. Okay. So, now let me go back to my outline. Okay, so I said that you should not use. What the heck is this? Get out of here. Okay, you should not use. I said that you should not use the present perfect when there's an explicit time marker, like a specific time marker for the past, like, in the morning, yesterday, at 8 p.m. No, don't use the present perfect with those. It simply does not make any sense to do that. But there are times where you can use either the present perfect or the past simple, and the meaning would be roughly the same. There'd be a slight difference, but it'd be pretty negligible. Like, it would be pretty unimportant. So, can anyone provide me examples of when you can use either the present simple or the past perfect? I said past perfect. I'm sorry. I meant past simple and present perfect. I need sleep. So can anyone provide examples of where you could use either and it would not matter? Like, in terms of meaning, it would be a very slight difference in meaning. Have you seen him today? Did you see him today? Have you seen him today? Did you see him today? I'm thinking about that one, actually. I don't think. Now, and that one either can be used, but there's actually quite a difference in meaning there. What was the question? Okay, so the question was, can you think of a situation where you can use either the past simple or present perfect, and the meaning would not be very different, like it would be almost the same? Let's see. Have you done it yet? Did you do it yet? Yeah, in that case, that'd be a better example. Yeah. Or you could say, like, or let's see. I saw it a couple of times. I've seen it a couple of times. No, not that one. I mean, of course, obviously they're both grammatically correct, but well, I don't know. I feel like that one. I feel like there might be a better example out there, because that one, with that one, like the meaning's a little. The difference in meanings is actually a bit. It's not exactly so small there. Let's see. I finished my task. I finished my task. Yeah, that one works. Yeah, like in that one, you can say either one, and it would not matter. Like, and there are no time markers here, so there are no time markers, and you're talking about something that was recently completed, then you can use either the present simple or present perfect or past simple. See, English has too many tenses. I keep confusing them. Anyway, you just killed me. You've just killed me. Yeah, that works too. Or I was arrested, or I've been arrested. That works too. And let me think of more examples. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you've done that. That works too. And one thing I should point out is that, see, I know some of you have. Oh wait, hold on. I arrived. I have arrived. Yeah, that works. Or if you want to put just in there, you could say I just arrived or I have just arrived. Yeah, that works too. But anyway, I know some of you are going. Some of you have probably been wanting to point this out, so I'll say it right now. In American English and British English, in the cases where you can use either the past simple or the present perfect, can anyone tell me which one American English prefers, and which one British English would prefer? Okay, so someone answered it. But I'm going to wait for. Okay, so my question was, in cases where either the past simple or present perfect can be used, which dialect would prefer one and which would prefer the other. And I said the two dialects were American English and British English. So which one would American English prefer and which one would British English prefer? And some people have already answered it. So yes, British English speakers tend to use the present perfect more, whereas American English speakers prefer to use the past simple. So when you've recently succeeded in doing something, an American English speaker would likely say, "We did it." But a British English speaker would likely say, "We've done it." So, yeah, exactly. Brits tend to use the present perfect more than Americans do. And for those of you who speak Spanish, there's a similar distinction between Latin American Spanish and Castilian Spanish. Because in Castilian Spanish, the present perfect, or rather, there's actually a more technical name for it. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, right. The pretérito perfecto compuesto. That form is used more frequently in Castilian Spanish than the pretérito simple, perfecto simple, is. So basically, the present perfect is used more frequently than the past simple in Castilian Spanish. But in Latin American Spanish, it's very similar to American English, where they just tend to use the past simple. So, yeah, there's a similar thing going on in Spanish. Yeah, exactly. Spain is like present perfect. Like, I know, like, they call it a different name, but I'm just gonna stick to present perfect. So in Spain, they tend to use the present perfect. In Latin America, they tend to use the past simple. So it's a similar thing there. But of course, in cases where either can be used, and the meaning would not change. So yeah, there's a parallel going on there. So let me repeat my example here. We've done it, mate. That's what they would say. No joke. I know some people want to ask questions. Just hang on. Just hang on. I can't really talk about conditionals right now because that's not what the class is about. So if you're going to ask that, then I can't answer it. We're talking strictly about the present perfect and past simple. Now, conditionals will be covered the next class. And it's not even going to be conditionals in general because I already did a lesson on that. It's just going to be about mixed conditionals in particular. So I'll do a review of all the conditionals, but the mixed conditionals will be the primary focus. But anyway, we did it would be American English. We've done it would be British English. Of course, both English speakers can use either one, but we just have a preference for one. Okay. So let me go back to my outline, hold up, let me clean it up a bit. I missed something here. Oh, and another thing that's quite interesting about the present perfect that some of you have probably already noticed is that the present perfect, unlike the past perfect and future perfect, the present perfect doesn't necessarily need context to make sense, additional context. Like, so it can often stand on its own. So you could say, I've completed my homework, and no one would care. It would be fine. But you can't say, I had completed my homework, because people would be like, okay, and what else happened? And my mom is calling me, so I'll be right back. What? I'm going to. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, so sorry about that. I scared you. Sorry. Baby, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Poggers. Okay, but anyway. So going back to what I said. Going back to what I said. So, as I said, like in Spanish is a similar parallel where you know you're in Europe the present perfect is preferred to the past simple. So let's provide an example in both English and Spanish. So in English, let's see, hold on. All right, there, perfect. Okay. But yeah, my mom. Yeah, I'm going to get to the continuous forms in a moment. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, child. See, heaven's got a plan for it. No, I'll stop. Okay, anyway. I need to stop making song references. Let's see. What a singer. Pork! Okay, so yes, I'm teaching, looking at the comment section, and typing at the same time. I'm a boss like that. Respects my authority. Okay, let's see. Okay, so to compare these two, this was fun. Eso fue divertido. This has been fun. Eso ha sido divertido. So, here in American English and Latin American Spanish, the past simple would be used, preferred. In British English and the European Spanish, it would be the compound form that would be preferred. Okay. Let's see. Going back to. No, I'll talk about the continuous forms in a moment. Could you please repeat your example? You provided it recently. It was about I've done my homework, and you also said. Well, I don't know what you're referring to for the last one, but. Okay, so I've done my homework, and I did my homework. In this case, either can be used. It's just that the present perfect implies that this event is closer to the present than the past simple is. Basically, you could think of it like like some sort of distance. So in this case, either can work, but the present perfect implies that there's less distance between this event and the present. Whereas the past simple here would sound more distant from the present, if that makes sense. So if we go back to this diagram, let me show you exactly. Let me show you a diagram again. Let me alter the one I have last time. And then after that, we'll talk about the present perfect continuous, and as well as the past simple continuous. We might as well talk about that as well. Yeah, there's no difference between I have done my homework and I've done my homework. They're both the same thing. Because one uses a contraction, I've, which means I have. That one uses a contraction. The other one, I have done, does not. So that's really the only difference. And depending on the context, not using contractions can make you sound a bit more formal, but really there's no difference semantically between those two sentences. In any case, let me bring up my... Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. No, right here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, now all I need to do is select this, delete it, type in this sentence, and then select this. Okay, and delete this. Oop. Oops. Okay, perfect. Now let's save this as number 2. Okay, so let's upload this. What is it? Where is it? Where? There we go. Okay. So guys, be patient. Like I'm trying to do something right now. Okay, there we go. Okay, there. So going back to this, let me provide a diagram for this example. I did my homework. It took place entirely within the past and has no connection to the present. I did my homework. So you could think of that as just like that past marker, you know, that marker on the left. It's just that one marker. but I have done my homework. Okay, now it started in the past and then led up to the present. So that would be that. Actually, hold up. Let me update this. Let me update this a bit. Let me update that. Hold on. Let's see. There. That should be a better one. There. Okay. There. Because I want to like illustrate the first one. Okay, there. So yeah, that's better. Okay, so yeah, you can see now that the first one implies that this doing your homework, that event has no connection to the present. But if the latter one does. Okay. Oh, thank you, Rima. Okay, so we talked quite a bit about the present perfect and the past simple. How not to use the present perfect, what the differences are between the present perfect and the past simple, and we talked about situations where you can use either one, it will not matter. And we talked about what dialects prefer to use what form. So now let's talk about the progressive forms of both the past simple and the present perfect. So can anyone tell me how you would form the present perfect continuous? Yeah, exactly. You use have or has, it depends, and then been, and then ing. I've been studying science. I've been doing my homework. I've been having fun. I've been shooting up strip clubs. Oh, wait, oops. That don't, just pretend that didn't happen. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, oh, God. Oh, really? I'm talking about Grand Theft Auto. It's okay. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Anyway, but you get the idea. Oh God. But yeah, it's have or has, and then that emoji, and then ing. I've been doing my homework for 10 minutes. Yeah. You can even add, you can add time markers like that. Time markers that signify spans of time. So I've been working on this assignment for 3 hours. I've been doing my homework for 10 minutes. I've been yelling at the principal for 5 minutes because they unjustly punished my child. It's not like I'm a Karen or anything. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Yeah, you get the idea. But anyway. I've been being grounded by my parents. And that can technically work, but using the form like that is a little weird, to be honest. It's not wrong, though, and it can technically work, but it's just a little weird. I've been learning English for 2 years. I've gone to London. That's correct. And you can also technically say I've been going to London if it's something that you've been doing recently, like something that you do recently in the present, and that continues up to until this point. Does it mean that the action is finished? Okay, so for this form, no. When you use the present perfect continuous, you're implying that the action isn't finished. And that's what differs That's what makes this form differ from the present perfect. So with the present perfect, you're implying that, well, actually, I think the present perfect by itself can also imply something that continues into the present. So it's not just so like it can, that the present perfect can imply that too. But the present perfect continuous though. Here, present perfect continuous. This implies that the event will continue into the present. That is, it's not finished. So the present perfect continuous implies that, whereas the present perfect itself, it can imply that an action can continue into the present, but not necessarily. So it's like with the present perfect, the event can be completed or not completed, but with the present perfect continuous, the event is not completed, period. So let me say that again. So the present perfect, this can mean that the event is finished or unfinished, whereas with the present perfect continuous, this can mean this means that the event is unfinished. So that's how I would describe it. Let's see, someone asked a question here. The present perfect continues to be something that started in the past and continues happening in the present. Yes, exactly. Chima, also at present perfect, with the present perfect, sometimes it doesn't mean that things are already done. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't necessarily mean that an event is finished. Because, for example, you can say, I've known the truth. I've known the truth for a while. Actually, let me not use that. That's not a good example. I've known the truth since... Actually, no. No, actually, let me just take that. I've been here since 7 a.m. Let's do that example. I've been here since 7 a.m. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've stopped being there. And in fact, it would likely mean that you are still there. I've been here since 7 a.m. and I'm still here. So, it's not exactly finished, is it? Let's see. What else? So that's the present perfect continuous. So, okay. So, oh, okay. Magical posted something here. Please help. Simple past. Something happened or was in the past. It may or may not have continued. I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, I'm sure most politicians can say the same thing. But anyway, number 2, present perfect. An action happened or was in the past, and it is still continuing, or its impacts are present. Present perfect continuous. An action happened or was in the past and still is. But sometimes 2 and 3 can be used interchangeably. Yeah, in cases like that, there's no different. There's barely no difference. I mean, did I really just use a double negative there? There's barely any difference. There's barely any difference. So to determine, so in cases like that, you can use either the continuous or or the non-continuous form. And as I said earlier, with the present perfect, it can imply that an action might be continuing or might not be continuing. But with the present perfect continuous, that implies that an action is continuing. So to tell the difference between the two, in certain contexts you can tell that in certain contexts the difference will be quite obvious. So like for example, let's see. Okay, so the first one is the perfect simple. The second one is the perfect continuous. Oops. I have worked on this assignment for 3 hours. I have been working on this assignment for 3 hours. Well, in this case, the first means that you're not going to work on the assignment anymore. Whereas the second means that you may very well, that you are probably going to work on the assignment for a longer period of time. So, in other words, you're still going to keep doing it. So, that's the difference there. In that case, the difference would be quite obvious. But in other cases, oh, well, actually, going back to Magical's example here, in this case, I have worked here for 8 years and I've been working here for 8 years. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly as Rima said. Like the present perfect can imply that an action may continue or that it may not continue. Whereas with this continuous form, you're implying that it is going to continue. So that would be the difference. Oops. Now going back to Magical's example here, I have worked for 8 years. I've worked there for 8 years, sorry. And I've been working there for 8 years. In this case, you could actually use either to mean that you're still working there. So in this case, both forms can mean the same thing. But the second form has a stronger emphasis on the continuation. Oops. Oh, dang it. Continuation of an action. Alright, I should say, oh, of the action. Okay. So you could think of the second form as having a stronger emphasis on the fact that the action may continue. Whereas with the first one, it can have that implication, but it doesn't have to. And now let's go back to a different example. Let's see. We have been living here for 2 years. We have lived here for 2 years. Same thing there. So it's the same thing there. Again, we have been living here for 2 years implies that you might still keep living there, whereas with you might keep living there, but with we have lived here for 2 years, you might stop living there or you might not. It really depends. Have you been smoking or have you smoked? Have you smoked would be used when you want to talk about something that's complete. Yeah, in this case, Tom's example here, in this case, this would be very different. Have you smoked would not imply will not imply that this action is still continuing to the present. It into the present. This have you smoked? No. That would imply that this action is finished. Whereas have you been smoking? Now that implies that this action of smoking continues into the present. So in this case, they're not interchangeable. So it really just depends on the context. It's hard to come up with a fast rule for it, but if the more you get exposed to these forms, the easier it will be to tell when you should use the continuous form and when you shouldn't use it. And I say that and if you could think about Tom's example another way. Have you smoked in this case could be replaced with did you smoked. So in that case, yeah, you can see now how have you been smoking and have you smoked are quite different here. Okay, so Magical said, so to differentiate them, I have worked there for 8 years means I stopped working, but I'm still being affected by the action, or I'm still working there. Yeah, basically means that that when you stopped working there, it has some sort of connection to the present, or that it happened sometime in the present. And of course, it could also mean I'm still working there. Yeah. Whereas I've been working there for 8 years means that you are still working there. Exactly. It's just a matter of emphasis, really. Or in Tom's example, it's a matter of it can be a matter of like it can be not so much a matter of emphasis, but rather that the two events really are different. Like sometimes the continuous form can be used for emphasis. Sometimes it's just used to show, no, this is the only form you should use if you want to show that one action is continuing into the present. So sometimes it's emphasis and sometimes it's just a matter of clarity, I would say. But let's go back to, let's see. Okay, so another example that Magical provided is, I've looked forward to it, and I have been looking forward to it. Okay, in that case, I would not say that they're interchangeable. I've looked forward to it. Well, I don't know. I would just say I've been looking forward to it if I want to say that, like, my looking forward to it continues into the present. I've looked forward to it. I feel like that would just be something that you could also substitute with the past simple, and thus it would not continue into the present. But in any case, it really just depends on the context. Okay, so Magical says, I found something good for the usages of present perfect and present perfect continuous. In the present perfect, you say that something has happened or is finished in the past and has a connection to the present. Or the action started in the past and continues up to the present. Okay, yeah, that's correct. The present perfect progressive continuous. Yeah, it can be called the present perfect progressive or the present perfect continuous, where the action began in the past and has just stopped, or how long the action has been happening, or emphasis of length or time of an action. Hold on. I would take out the part has just stopped. Yeah, I would take out, like, yeah, it's mostly fine. Just take out that part where it says and has just stopped for the second part. Like, an action began in the past and continues into the present. Like, yeah, if you reword that second part, then it would be fine. I'm waiting for you in the station and you arrive. I say, I've been waiting for you for 2 hours. So the action just stopped. Actually, that's a good point. Huh. Well, when you explain it like that, that makes sense. I guess in this case, I should also point out, I guess in this case, the continuous form may not necessarily imply that an action isn't finished. I should probably point that out. It can also be that the action was ongoing, like it didn't take place at a single point in time. So I have been waiting can actually be complete in a sense. So in that case, it would be complete. Or rather, damn, I don't know how to explain this. Or it could be interrupted here. Maybe interrupted in this case would work. Well, whatever it is, basically, however you want to explain it, basically the present perfect progressive or the present perfect continuous talks about ongoing actions that start in the past and lead up into the present. And if none of this makes sense, well, just do a lot of reading and you'll understand how the tenses work. Okay, I don't have any exercises because some of the ones I found are trash. So I'm not going to bother with that. Unless anyone has exercises they'd like to share, then that's fine. If we were to use interrupted, wouldn't that be better for past progressive? I was waiting for you. Right. I should probably point out the past progressive as well. Can someone tell me how to form the past progressive? Because I'm about to explain address what Magical just said here. How do you form the past progressive? The past simple progressive, anyway. How long have I been... Oh, 1 hour and 46 minutes. Well, I'm about to answer it. I'm just waiting. Before I even talk about that, I have to talk about how to form the past progressive. Oh, you have to leave? Okay. Bye, Mr. Java Cup. No, I said past progressive. Past progressive. Not present perfect progressive. Past progressive. So how do you form that? Yeah, exactly. Was or were, depending on the person, the subject, and then ing. Exactly. No, that's the past perfect progressive. I'm talking about the past simple progressive. Had been plus ing is the past perfect progressive. No, it doesn't involve the infinitive at all. You would just use was or were and then ing. So for example, I was talking, you were talking, he was talking, she was talking, we were talking, you were talking, they were talking. So that's how you would form the past simple progressive. Okay, so, and you use this when you want to talk about actions in the past that were ongoing but have no connection to the present. Okay, so, and, so for example, I was doing my homework when you called me, versus, okay, sir, or I was talking on the phone for 3 hours. So both of those would be the past progressive. Okay, now there's one thing I should point out here. So going back to Magical's comment here, if we were to use interrupted, wouldn't that be better for the past progressive? Okay, so when you use interrupted like that, you're implying that something wasn't completed, right? So in that case, if you're going to use interrupted like that, then that would mean that the past progressive would be imperfective. But the past progressive can be imperfective or perfective. So what do I mean by that? So they can be both completed or incomplete. So let's see. So let's go back to, okay, versus, okay, I'm trying to think of an example here. Okay, so let's use Spanish for this, right? Because Spanish will help me illustrate this. So, and yeah, the past continuous and the past progressive are the same thing here. Okay. I was talking with my friend when you entered the room. This is imperfective, because your action of talking with your friend, that was interrupted. I was talking with my friend when you entered the room. That's imperfective. But now let's use a different context. So let's say person A opens up a magazine and then says, "Ooh, so pretty." And then person B says, "Yeah, that girl is very beautiful." And then person A says, oh my god, person A says, let's see. No. Okay. Okay, so here's a context where where the past progressive would be perfective. Person A opens up a magazine and says, "Ooh, so pretty." And then person B says, "Yeah, that girl is very beautiful." And then person A says, "I was talking about her dress, actually." In this case, it's perfective, because her action of talking about the dress was not interrupted. So the past progressive can be perfective or imperfective. And in Spanish, the perfective form of was talking would be something along the lines of estaba hablando, whereas the perfective form would be estuve hablando. So this is imperfective and this is perfective. But in English these both have the same form, was talking. So the progressive form can be perfective or imperfective. And in the context I use, you'd have to use estuve hablando, but in the other one you'd use estaba hablando. So estaba hablando con mi amigo cuando entraste en mi habitación, something like that. But you get the idea. Okay, so when I say that the past, so going back to Maxwell's point that when this is interrupted, wouldn't that be better for the past progressive? Well, the past progressive doesn't necessarily mean interruption, so that's the point I wanted to make. Clear. The present perfect progressive, can it ever be imperfective? That's actually a good point. Now, as to whether or not it can be perfective or imperfective, I think linguists would say that the present perfect progressive would be imperfective. So it's hard to say, honestly. I really don't know. And I forgot to point out that for person A's question sentence, I was talking about her dress. You'd say in Spanish it would be translated to estuve hablando de su vestido. So estuve. Yeah, sorry. I was talking. Yeah, sorry, wrong person. But yeah, but hopefully that comparison made sense to you. So thank you for your comment, FDR. I think it's imperfective, honestly. I think it can only be imperfective. I don't think it can be perfective in this case. The present perfect continuous, I mean. I think it can only be imperfective. Okay. I see my Portuguese speakers are also understanding this stuff. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what the forms would be in Portuguese though. But if you understand it, fine. That's fine. Because Portuguese and Spanish grammar are both Portuguese grammar and Spanish grammar are both very similar. Something like that. Falando, yeah, like, but I don't know like what the I think it's estaba, like, is that how it is? Like with the V, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But you get the point. I honestly cannot remember. Yeah, okay, so it's estaba. That's what I thought. So what would be the other form then? Because I honestly cannot remember. Anyway. But yeah, you get the idea now. So the past progressive can be imperfective or perfective. But in English, we just have that one form, so you just tell from the context which one it is. Although more often than not, it's going to be imperfective because it's like that in Spanish too. Estuve hablando isn't used very commonly. Estaba hablando is more common. But they both have their uses, obviously. Okay, I think there was something else I wanted to answer, but I cannot remember. Sorry, my mind is all over the place, and plus there are a lot of comments here that I want to answer, but I keep... Like, if I miss any of your questions, don't be afraid to ping me, because I might miss them, because, you know, there are so many people here. Yeah, exactly. Estuve hablando makes sense if you're not talking anymore. Like, in my example I posted, you use it there. Like, because, like, she was, like, the girl who was talking about the dress, she didn't keep talking about the dress, did she? So, only estuve hablando made sense there. But anyway. But yeah, if you're interrupted, estaba hablando makes sense. Exactly. So, like, I was talking with my friend when you came in, so that implies interruption. Okay, so... Now let's go back to... Well, Rima, I haven't answered your question yet. I haven't actually addressed it just yet, so... Now I'm about to address it. So I wasn't answering your question there. I was talking with someone else about something. Okay, But I technically did already answer it earlier, though. I'd say that the present perfect progressive can only be imperfective. I don't think it can be perfective. That's the thing. I have no idea. Okay, what else was I going to say? What was I going to say? There's something. Oh, right. Um. So. Well, actually, hold on. Someone else is typing right now. Let me address what they're talking about. Okay, so Magical said, I have been waiting for you and it seems right. But he already arrived. So that means I am not waiting anymore. Well, yes, but see, you can be when you're interrupted, then you're not waiting anymore, really. So, so it can't so like just because you're not waiting anymore doesn't mean that that action was complete. If that makes sense. Like you're not waiting anymore, but does that necessarily mean that the event was complete? But then again, I do see what you're saying, though. So that's the thing. I don't really know exactly whether or not it would be imperfective, the present perfect progressive. Like, I think it can only be imperfective, but I'm not sure. That's the thing. And it's hard to answer this question, because I don't think it can ever be perfective in a sense. Yeah, see, that's the stupid thing about grammar. Sometimes there are just gray areas, right? Like it's just hard to say for sure how some things are. Like I'm trying to think of a context where it could be considered perfective, but I don't know. And one thing I should point out, although I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know that this is the case, the perfect aspect is not the same as the perfective aspect, because I've been using these two words a lot. Let me make that clear right now. These two are not the same. I think of the perfect aspect as dealing with how certain points on the timeline relate to each other, like present perfect, past perfect, future perfect. But perfective is more about whether or not something is complete, can be viewed as a completed whole. So just so know that those two are not the same. And I know this because in Spanish you can actually combine these two aspects. Because in Spanish there are two past perfects, like había tomado and hubo tomado. The first one is imperfective, but it's the past perfect. And the second one is perfective, but it's the past perfect too. So be careful with how you use these terms. Oh, so it's estive. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you. Okay. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, again, I don't have any exercises, so because again, like I tried to look for some, but they're all so bad. It's so bad. They're so bad because like people are gonna think, well, you could use the past simple here in this case too. And so it's like, no, I'm just not going to use any exercises because I just couldn't find very good ones. I could create my own. I could. Okay. Here, why don't we try that then? So, okay. So let's go sentence by sentence. So here's the first one. Tenses in English are so much easier than Spanish or Portuguese, though. Yeah, you're not wrong. There's almost a direct correspondence between the two systems, but in English we don't really have an imperfective form, a general form anyway. So, or a future subjunctive for that matter. So that's like what 8 forms that we don't have. So, yeah. So yeah, like if you think English tenses are harder, well, good luck with Spanish and Portuguese. Ouch. Honestly, all the tense systems are hard, but yeah, Spanish and Portuguese are particularly difficult. Like, but although, and for English speakers, really the only thing that will be hard about the Spanish test system is just the imperfective. That's it, because there's a counterpart for pretty much everything else. Okay, but anyway, let me type the sentence. Oops. Okay, now let's test out your knowledge. Let's do this. Oops. Number 1, I blank that movie yesterday. What would be the answer? See, you all are so smart. You're all so smart. I'm proud of you, my little pog champs. But anyway, number 2. I've seen that movie already. Yeah, in that case, have seen can work. But not, I've seen that movie yesterday. Ew. God. That makes my ears bleed. Yeah, if you're a Latin American speaker of Spanish, then using the present perfect, you're not likely to use it. Particularly in, particularly in certain dialects like Argentinian Spanish, it's probably going to be like, we barely even use that. I mean, of course, like, you use both, but some dialects just barely use one form. Some use both a lot. Some use one more than the other. There's a lot of variation. Okay, so what about this one? At 5 a.m., I blank up in the morning. Woke. A. See? You got it. No, not have woken. Mm-mm. No, that's not going to work. And I noticed that someone earlier said that I was speaking a little too quickly. I am sorry about that. I do try not to speak too quickly, although sometimes I accidentally let my pronunciation get all sloppy. So I do try not to speak too quickly. Although, since this is a advanced grammar class, some advanced comprehension is expected of students at this point. So if you're a beginner, then this class isn't really for you. But yeah, the answer should be woke. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, the estuve hablando can sound weird to some natives. But I did hear it once used just like that. I did hear it once used just like that from a Spanish speaker, a Castilian Spanish speaker. She said a sentence like that. So like again, it just depends on the dialect. But anyway, when should you say have woken then? When you don't have an explicit time marker. So yeah, see exactly. Yeah, in Spain you're gonna hear that because where I heard that example, that was from a person from Spain, so it's technically fine. Obviously, I mean you're not saying it's wrong, but yeah, you will hear that in Spain. I swear to God, Void, how dare you? I was actually trying to rub that hair off my screen, and it's like, oh, it's not there. Okay, but anyway, uh, but yeah, so let me say this again so everyone can see it. And magical is once again providing. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not mean to like go too far from the whole um, concept of past simple versus present perfect, but I had to point out how some whether or not something's perfective or imperfective can mess with things quite a bit. I should phrase it like this: when you don't have a specific time marker, because you can have an explicit one, like I've known the truth for 2 years. That's explicit, but it's not. I can't speak today. It's not specific. So in this case, when you don't have a specific time marker, such as uh, in the morning or at night, or yesterday, then yes, you don't have. Then yes, you can use the present perfect. So you could say simply, "I've woken up." Yeah, I fixed that. Sorry, magical. I've woken up, or I've woken up recently. Okay, so Magical posted something here. I'm just going to go ahead and pin it. I didn't get a chance to read through it entirely, but I'm just going to go ahead and pin it. Okay, so read that pin message, everyone, or you'll all be banned. Banhammer. Yeah, if it sounds, yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the annoying thing about dialects. Like they may use some verb forms may be used more than others. Like no joke. In Castilian Spanish, for example, they use, as I said, they use the present perfect a lot, even for things where the past simple in English logically would be used. So like you could say, so like they say things like "ha nacido," as in he was born, but like literally it would mean he has been born, but it's like they say he was born, and it's just like it's just weird to Latin American speakers, but that's the thing. That's just how language is. Oh yeah, and FDR also point out another example of that. But anyway, okay, so I'm trying to think of a third question I can ask. And a third exercise, because let me think. Oh, I know exactly what I can put. So for the third, here's the third question that you guys can answer. So let me type it up. Hold on. Okay, so third question. And this one's going to be a dialogue question. So okay, person B. Okay, hold up. Person A arrives at the train station and says, "I'm here." And then person B says, "There you are, I." And then we have our verb here. Okay. Now, for this one, now, I'll acknowledge that for this one's a little tricky. So what I want you to do is choose the one that would be better. Choose the form that would be better. That would sound better to you. Okay. So here's the third question. Person A arrives at the train station to pick someone up and then says, "I'm here." And then person B says, "There you are, I blank for you." So what would be the better form to use? See, you're good at this. You guys are so good at this. Yeah, have been waiting would be better here. Was waiting can technically work, but in this context, people would more likely just say have been waiting. So have been waiting would be the better form to use. Yeah, exactly. See, you guys get it. Now here's a fourth question, and this time it's gonna be a different type of question. Okay, so here's the fourth question. So here's the fourth question. And let me ask it down here. Fourth question. She went or has gone to the restroom. Are both tenses fine here? Or should there only be one? Actually, I should say, should there be only one? Ha, it's familiar because I stole it. I stole it! Ha! I stole it. Yeah, it depends, right? So really, if it depends, then can either one work? Yeah, exactly, both. Yeah, see, you both are right. It depends. It both can work. There's no time specification, so either can work. Now, if I add more context, like this, which one would be better? If I added more context like this, which one would be better? Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, no. In this case, it would be went. Yeah, went. Because that long ago, you can't remember that's a marker for a specific point in the past. Yeah, so it should not be has gone. It should be went. Yeah, it should be went. So when you add more context, then things can get interesting. Okay. Where has she been? Now that it could be, yeah, it could be where has she been or where was she. Um, they both mean different things, but they're both grammatical. So again, it depends on the context. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna do like one more, and then we can start focusing on questions, if you guys have any. Because I know some of you, I know some of you definitely have questions. And try to keep your questions as specific as possible. Like, try to provide plenty of context. Because if you say something like, because like no joke, if you a lot of learners tend to ask questions that are too generic or too general. Like they'll say something like what's the difference between the present perfect and the past simple? That doesn't quite give you, that won't give you a good answer. It won't give you a good answer. But if you say, should I use the past simple or the present perfect in this situation, then that would give you a better example. Actually, I think was waiting in this case would mean that like someone was in the middle of waiting for someone else. If you wanted to say that you stopped waiting for him, you could just say you would just use the past simple waited, I think. Yeah, the at shouldn't be there, you're right. Yeah, you would say our daughter just got home. Yeah, hey Alexa, our daughter just got home now. Where has she been? Yeah, that works. Or where was she? Either one works, but they mean slightly different things. That profile picture though, eh? Okay, Senzo, what's up? Okay, let me do one final. Let me do one final question. And this will cover a topic, a talking point that I forgot to mention. Okay. Which one do you think would be better? Actually, I think in this case only one could work. So that's number 5. But I think there's only one here that would work. So in this case, what would it be? Have been. Yes. See, you guys are the smartest group I've ever had. Yo. Have been. Yeah, exactly. And why do we use have been? Because of the phrase since noon. So you'll notice when you read or listen to English, that since noon, like phrases that involve since, often go with the present perfect. So you can say, I've been cleaning. I've been cleaning the house since this morning. That would be the present perfect continuous. Or I've known that fact since I was little. So since often goes with the present perfect. So that's why we use the present perfect there. I've been cleaning the house since this morning. I've known that fact since I was little. Okay. Let's see, continuous, and then, let me just say, present perfect continuous, present perfect simple. There. I've been cleaning the house this morning and then I went horse riding. I'm guessing that's what you said. That's what you want to say? No, it would be I cleaned or I was cleaning the house this morning and then I went horse riding. So if there's no since, we should use was or were, right? Actually, no, not necessarily, because if you take out since this morning, you could say either I've been cleaning the house or I was cleaning this house. So if you take out the since, you don't necessarily have to use the past simple or past progressive or past continuous, whatever. So if there's no time specification, may I write the students were here? Yeah, and you can also write the students have been here. That works too. The students have been here, or the students were here. Either one can work without time specification. Really, it all depends on the context. Let me pin this as well, Magical. I might as well pin that too. Let me just pin that. Okay, because that's a good explanation. Oh, the side note is added to the pinned message. Oops. No. Crap. Sorry. I'll take that pin off. Sorry. Let me take that off. Okay. There we go. Sorry. Okay. So I'm living here since 2008. I'm living here for 4 years. No, it would be I've been living here since 2008 and I've been living here for 4 years. Or I've lived here for 4 years. Or I've lived here since 2008. So you have to use the perfect aspect there. How do you become a teacher like me? Well, you have to go to the join staff channel, and then you fill out an application, and then if they send it, and then you wait like say 3 or 4 weeks, and then if they contact you, you got the job. If they don't, then you're not going to be a teacher, and you don't email them asking about how your application is. They make that very clear. Although I'm not quite sure you'd be able to be a teacher at this point, considering what color you are. Now, if you were green, then it'd be a different story. Like magical could be a teacher, but yeah, like I don't know exactly if there's. I don't remember if there's an age requirement. Honestly, before they even had the join staff channel, I was just asked to be a teacher, so I'm like, okay, I'll take the role. They just asked me, but now you have to fill out an application. Yeah, magical could be a great teacher. That's very kind of you, Rima. I have a question about your answer is saved. Your answer was saved. Which one is correct? They're both correct. Like, they're both correct. One is past and one is present. Like, that's really the only difference. UK forever. No, you mean Wakanda forever. That's what you mean. No, I'm kidding. But anyway. Well, let's see. 2.5 hours so far. Okay, I'll let someone come up on the stage. Remember, keep your questions relevant to the topic of discussion, that being the past simple versus present perfect. So you can come up and speak. Hey.
I'm so honored right now.
Huh?
I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry right now. I'm so happy I'm here. You are like Jesus to me.
I'm flattered.
I've been learning English for 69 years.
69?
Yep. I'm 72.
Huh.
Yeah. How long have you been teaching for?
A few years.
Oh, nice. How old are you?
27?
Nice. If you can guess how old I am, I'll send you a high five.
I would, but right now, do you have a question related to this class?
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah.
It's okay.
Okay. See, if I want to go shopping, how do I say it?
I'm sorry, what exactly do you mean?
So if I want to go shopping with my friends, how do I say it?
Say, like, wouldn't you just say I want to go shopping? Is that what I'm not sure what you're asking.
So I'm asking, if I want to go shopping with my friends, how do you say that?
Isn't that exactly how you'd say it?
Yeah, that's the trick question. Okay, have fun. Everyone, you're gonna learn English. This is the best teacher in this on here, okay? All of you will learn English. Good luck. I love everyone. Bye.
Well then. Well, that was funny. But oh, I'm guessing it was just a joke. I mean, fine. But but anyway, but yeah, thank you for the kind words, Senzo. However you pronounce it. But let's see. There was someone else who wanted to talk, but they're not there anymore. So does anyone have any other questions about the present perfect and past simple? Or like you can, it doesn't have to be like questions involving like which one would you use? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be questions that compare the two. It can also just be what they are in themselves. Like, what exactly is the past simple, or what exactly is the present perfect, or whatever. But I think no one else has any other questions. I think I might have just answered everyone's questions so far. This is normally when my classes would end. They're typically 2.5 hours long. They can be as short as 2 hours or as long as 3 hours. Oh, and for those of you who want to be teachers, well, first of all, I recommend that you have the proper role. Like, if you have like a color that signifies that you're fluent or that you're advanced, which would indicate that you're highly proficient with English. First of all, make sure that you are at least advanced before you try to become a teacher, basically. And second of all, um, make sure if you want to teach English grammar, make sure you study that quite a bit, like Magical here has, and or if you don't want to, if you want to teach something else, like not just not English grammar so much, but English pronunciation, like Demonade here. Uh, Make sure you study that as well. Um, or if you want to like if you want to like teach classes like Alan G's classes where it's just about various topics that aren't grammar related or pronunciation related, but just things like like talking about how pictures make you feel, or like having students read actively or stuff like that. Well, that you actually don't need any experience for, but you do need to make sure that you are um, make sure that you at least are advanced. So keep that in mind. And if if you want to become a teacher, like you can certainly ask other teachers, like if you want to shadow them. What that means is that like you could like basically you become like some sort of you basically become like maybe some sort of assistant to them or a student to them. So it's like you can help them teach classes, basically, like help them out with classes, like how Magical's been doing, like that sort of thing. So like you could get the experience needed to become a teacher, and then eventually eventually you can become your own teacher, like Demonade has recently. Yeah, you can be my assistant. That's fine. You might as well be. I mean, you've been quite helpful. But if anyone else wants to be an assistant uh, to my class, when it comes to teaching my classes, that's fine. Because then you get the experience needed to teach your own classes. We can play bingo to teach English. I should incorporate more games into these. Oh wait, hold up. Oh, that's just a garbage truck. Okay. Your pronunciation is so good. At least I can understand more things than Alan. Than teacher Alan. Oh. Well, thank you. No, Alan is a native speaker. I guess some people find my accent easier to understand. Although we pretty much have the same accent. So Yeah, I'm more informal than Alan is. um, though that's probably part of it. Although I think I think my pronunciation is honestly sloppier than his, because like sometimes I slur my words together or I interrupt myself mid sentence and then it's like, no wait, I meant to say this. What's your native language? I am half Japanese, half Mexican, half uh, Filipino, half American, half Canadian, half everything. I'm half everything. I'm half everything. How many parents do you have? I have way too many because I'm a foster kid. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. And plus, not all foster kids like go through a lot of parents. So, not trying to offend. That was just a stupid joke on my part. Anyway, shouldn't there be only two halves? Exactly. Like that's the right. It's like I said, half of everything. That doesn't make any sense though. It's like you offended me. I'm sorry. It's like how many parents you have? Just one. He reproduced asexually. No, I'm kidding. That's actually that would be kind of gross for a human to do, really. But anyway, I should be ending the class though, so I mean I could still stay around for longer and talk, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. But for those of you who are watching the recording now, thank you so much for watching.